In October of 1927, in a cemetery in New Jersey, they opened a grave that had been sealed for 5 years. The woman inside had died, her death certificate said, of syphilis, a lie her employer had helped spread because a dead girl's reputation was cheaper than the truth. The examiners took her bones and held them against photographic film in a dark room. The bones took their own picture. 5 years in the ground, and Amelia Maggia's skeleton was still radioactive enough to expose film, as it will remain for more than 1,000 years. She had a job once. It was considered one of the best jobs a working girl in America could get. All she had to do was paint. Orange, New Jersey, 1917. The United States Radium Corporation is hiring young women, some of them teenagers, to paint watch dials with a miracle. The paint was called Undark, and it did exactly what the name promised. Numbers and hands that glowed all night. No winding, no flame. Radium was the wonder element of the age. Sold in tonics, face creams, toothpaste. Prescribed by doctors. Celebrated in the press as bottled sunshine. The dial painters were paid piece rates that could triple a factory girl's wage. They were called the Shining Girls, and the name was literal. They walked home glowing, radium dust in their hair, on their dresses, luminous in the dark streets. Grace Fryer took the job that year. She was 18, sharp, ambitious. 2 brothers in the war, and dial painting was patriotic work. The military bought every luminous instrument the studio could produce. The technique the company taught her had a name: lip pointing. To keep the brush tip fine enough for tiny numerals, the painters were instructed to shape it between their lips. Dip, point, paint. A dial painter did it hundreds of times a shift, swallowing a little radium with every point of the brush. Some of the girls, on their off hours, painted their fingernails with it, their buttons. One painted her teeth to glow for a date. When they asked if the paint was safe, the company told them yes. Not carelessly, specifically. It would put roses in their cheeks, one manager said. Here is what the company knew while it was saying that. In the laboratory of the same building, the men who handled radium in quantity worked behind lead screens. They used ivory-tipped tongs. The scientific literature on radium's dangers had been accumulating since before the studio opened. Its discoverers burned by it, early handlers dead of anemia. Radium behaves like calcium. The body, unable to tell the difference, deposits it in the bones, and there it stays, drilling outward for the rest of the owner's life, which it shortens. The chemists were protected. The girls were told to put it in their mouths. By the early 20s, dial painters were getting sick in patterns no one could ignore privately. Aching hips, crumbling teeth, jaws that would not heal. In 1924, the company hired Harvard specialists to investigate. Their report found the studio contaminated and the work dangerous. Every worker they tested showed abnormal blood. United States Radium suppressed the report. To the state authorities, it represented the findings as a clean bill of health. Business continued, hiring continued, lip pointing continued. The first of the girls had already died by then. That was Amelia Maggia, Molly, the woman from the cemetery. Her jaw had disintegrated in her dentist's fingers before the end. The death certificate said syphilis. Her family buried her with the lie attached. Now stay with Grace Fryer, because what happens next only happened because she refused to go away. Around 1925, her teeth began to loosen. Then her jaw began to ache. then her spine. X-rays would show her vertebrae compressing, her jawbone honeycombed, eaten from the inside. Dentists were baffled until one, who had watched Molly Maggia's jaw come apart in his hands, recognized the pattern. The condition acquired a name that should never have needed one: radium jaw. Grace decided to sue. It took her 2 years to find a lawyer willing to take the case, a young attorney named Raymond Berry, because the company's defense was as elegant as it was obscene. New Jersey's statute of limitations. Injuries had to be filed within 2 years of the harm. Radium takes 5, 10, 15 years to announce itself in the bones. The company had poisoned them slowly enough to be legal. 4 other dying women joined her: Catherine Schaub, Edna Hussman, and 2 of Molly Maggia's own sisters, Quinta and Albina. The press did the arithmetic on their prognoses and gave the case its terrible headline name: 5 women doomed to die. By the time hearings began in 1928, some of the 5 could no longer lift their hands to take the oath. The company's strategy, plainly visible in the record, was delay, adjournments, appeals, postponements. The plaintiffs were dying on a schedule, the defense billed by the hour. Time was not on the same side as justice, and the company knew it. Time was the product they had always sold. Public outrage did what the statute could not. In June 1928, under a landslide of press coverage, United States Radium settled $10,000 to each woman, a pension, and their medical bills for life. Lives the company's own doctors privately measured in months. It admitted nothing. And here the story should end, but it doesn't, because 800 miles west, in Ottawa, Illinois, another company had been running another studio the entire time. Same paint, same lip pointing, same assurances. Radium Dial had even conducted secret medical examinations of its own painters, found the radioactivity in their bodies, and told them nothing, while publishing newspaper notices assuring the town the New Jersey troubles were irrelevant. One of its painters was Catherine Donohue. By 1938, she weighed less than 70 pounds. A piece of her jaw had come away in her hand at her own kitchen table. She took Radium Dial to court anyway, and when she became too weak to travel, the hearing came to her. She gave testimony from her couch and fainted giving it, and won. The company appealed. She won again. It appealed again. She kept winning, and it kept appealing, racing her heartbeat to the courthouse. Catherine Donohue died in July 1938. Days after one more victory her body never got to spend. The appeals ran out. The precedent stood. What the Radium Girls bought with their bones outlived every company involved. Their cases helped force occupational disease into workers' compensation law and helped establish something America did not meaningfully have before them: the enforceable principle that an employer who knows is liable for what the knowing costs. When the atomic age arrived a few years later, the safety standards protecting its workers were written from data measured in dial painters' skeletons. Many of the women, in death, donated to science the same bones the companies had poisoned. Radium's half-life is 1,600 years. The women in this photograph will be radioactive longer than the country they worked in has existed. Every one of them was told it was safe by men standing behind LED screens. They were paid to make time visible in the dark. The companies took theirs. This much, at least, is still visible. As we step out of the shadows for today, I want to thank you for your time. There are many more grim truths hidden in the past, waiting to be told. To ensure you're here for the next one, please subscribe. If you are ready to explore another dark chapter right now, you can click the video on your screen. Stay curious,